A lean man walks the dusty road toward the city of palms. Beneath his cloak, a short blade is strapped to his right thigh, exactly where a royal guard would never think to search. He is going to kill a king. But before the blade is drawn, the commentator known as the Malbim points out the quiet pause in the text. God had left foreign nations in the land, and the first reason was a test. The new generation had to learn war. The previous generation never needed to. God had driven the Canaanites out through open wonder. The fact that the children of Israel now had to pick up the sword themselves was the proof. The age of open miracles had closed behind them. The Malbim notes a second test. It was a trial of loyalty, to see if they would keep the commandments, refuse foreign marriages, and reject foreign gods. They failed both tests completely. They settled among the nations and made peace. They took their daughters in marriage, and they served their gods. 2 trials, 2 complete collapses. Here, the Malbim says, the book's long preface ends. The text now turns to the particulars, judge by judge, oppression by rescue, initiating a relentless, descending cycle. First, the people forget their God. They are sold into the hands of Cushan-Rishathaim, king of distant Aram. They serve him for 8 brutal years, until they finally cry out. God raises Othniel, the kinsman of Caleb. As the Malbim reads the text, Othniel operates as a true judge of faith, turning the people back to their God. The Malbim points out the exact sequence. The Spirit of the Lord comes upon him first as a spirit of judgment, restoring their ways. Only after the people return to God does Othniel lead them out to war, and God strengthens his hand. The land is quiet for 40 years. This is the absolute peak of deliverance. From this moment on, every rescuer who follows will be smaller. The people relapse. This time God strengthens Eglon, king of Moab, against them. Eglon seizes the city of palms and rules over Israel for 18 years. Eglon was a weak man by nature. Israel should have overpowered him easily. The Malbim argues it was only Israel's sin that handed Eglon his strength, convincing him and his neighbors that the God of Israel had abandoned the battlefield. Israel cries out again, and God raises a second deliverer, Ehud of the tribe of Benjamin. But the text is careful here. It never says the Spirit of God rests on Ehud. He is merely described as a deliverer for them. He won't save them by the Spirit. He will save them by a trick. Ehud was left-handed. He forged a short, double-edged sword and strapped it to his right thigh, completely hidden under his cloak, where no guard checks for a weapon. Ehud gains entry by carrying the people's tribute. After paying the king, he turns back at the carved wooden images near Gilgal and sends a message. He has a secret for the king. Eglon clears his private upper chamber. Ehud approaches the heavy king. "I have a word from God for you," he says. Eglon rises from his seat. Ehud's left hand draws the hidden blade, and the short sword goes in. Ehud locks the heavy wooden doors behind him. Eglon's servants wait outside, assuming the king is relieving himself, waiting far past reason before finally taking the key. By then, Ehud has crossed back past the carved images and vanished into the hills. He sounds the horn in the highlands of Ephraim. He and his men seize the fords of the Jordan, cutting off the escape routes. They strike down 10,000 Moabite foot soldiers. None escape. The text notes the land was quiet for 80 years, but the Malbim spots the phrasing. Moab was subdued on that day only. It was a small salvation, a physical survival achieved through a hidden knife, leaving the spiritual void untouched. Then comes the third deliverer, Shamgar, son of Anath. Here there is no organized army, no grand battle plan, just a lone man at the edge of the Philistine plain. He strikes down 600 Philistines with a wooden ox-goad. One man, one farmer's cattle prod, a desperate, violent flash in the dark. Yet the Malbim points out what the text refuses to say. It never records that Shamgar judged Israel. He operates in total spiritual silence. As the generations pass, the men raised to deliver Israel are visibly shrinking. Othniel turned an entire people back to God. Ehud turned only a hidden knife. Shamgar swung only a goad. The valley is quiet for a while, but the peace is hollow, and the wheel waits to turn again.